I'm making homemade sloppy joes, not out of a can. Forget what you had back when you were a kid. I'm going to make homemade sloppy joes that are going to blow your mind, or at least I hope so. Today's video from my kitchen is going to be a little bit of a departure because instead of me sharing my recipes with you, I'm actually going to take a recipe from another YouTuber that when I saw it, I stopped dead in my tracks and said, I have to make that. I shared that video with my husband. He called me and said, do it. So today I'm making homemade sloppy joes, and I am going to use the recipe from a channel called Mr. Make It Happen. This guy has a cooking channel and I love to watch him. Number one, he's funny. Number two, he makes stuff that looks incredible, and his homemade sloppy joes look amazing. So I'm going to follow his recipe and put a little bit of my spin on it. And I even bought these fancy brioche buns at the grocery store. I'm going to brush the inside of them with a buttery, garlicky mixture and brown them up in the skillet before we put our sloppy joes on. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And what might be my favorite part of his recipe, he is going to fry crispy pieces of onions and put it on top of his sandwich for the perfect little oniony crunch. And when he dresses his sandwich, he has pickles on his sloppy joes. And I am so excited. So let's get to cooking. So here we go. I've got my skillet getting really hot, and I'm gonna kind of downscale this recipe to feed 3 or 4 people. So I'm cutting Mr. Make It Happen's recipe in half. Got his recipe printed out, and I'm gonna adjust it as I see fit. 1 pound of ground chuck. And he says to press that down into the skillet really good so you get charred bits. I have never thought about doing that, so I'm going to give that a try. Okay. Break it up here just a smidge. And I'm going to season this just lightly with a little bit of black pepper, a dash of salt, and I'm going to add in red pepper, green pepper, and diced onion that I cut up into pretty small bits. I don't want to bite into a huge chunk of red pepper, so I diced them up pretty small. That smells good already. Wow. Just making sure to toss this around pretty often so that my peppers and onions are on the bottom of the skillet so they get cooked as well, because I do not want them to be crunchy. So I feel like everything is cooked really well, and now I'm going to drain off any grease if I have some. Let's take a look. I really don't. Wow. So I'm going to add to this my minced garlic, or garlic paste. About 2 tablespoons. Stir that around. Get my garlic cooked. And I'm going to add in about 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. Just eyeballing everything. Actually, let's do 4. A 1/4 cup of regular ketchup, a smidge of Worcestershire sauce, a dash of mustard. So Mr. Make It Happen says you can use Dijon mustard. I'm just going to use regular classic yellow. A little bit of chili powder. Some paprika, and about 1 or 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. I'm going to start with about 1 and then taste this down the road and see where we are. Now I'm going to add in about a teaspoon of Better Than Bouillon beef base, and he says some beef broth. I don't have beef broth, so I'm just going to add water. About a 1/2 cup, just to kind of liquefy this. and see where we are. So this is where his recipe gets a little crazy for me. He says to add about a tablespoon of all-purpose flour. This is what is going to thicken up your sloppy joes so that they aren't all runny and don't slide off of your bun. Okay, giving it a try. Stir that in till my flour is mixed up really well. Just another dab of water. And he says season to your taste. So I'm definitely going to do more black pepper, more salt now that I can kind of see what's all in this. Stir it around really well, and I'm going to bring the temperature down to low and let it simmer for about 10 or 15 minutes. So now I'm going to chop up my onions and we're going to fry them up in some seasoned flour. I'm just going to do slits like this and kind of pull these apart so that I have onion strips. So Mr. Make It Happen says to bread your onion straws in some seasoned flour. I'm going to make my own seasoned flour, self-rising flour, a little bit of Mrs. Dash. I'm also going to add some salt and pepper. A little bit of salt and a dash of garlic powder. That looks good to me. Toss that around. And I have some oil heating up pretty hot. Don't know the exact temperature, but medium high. I'm going to drop my onions into the seasoned flour, kind of get them coated. This should happen super quick. Like these are going to fry up in no time because they're so thin. I'm going to drop them in a few at a time so they're not crowded. And these are going to have to be cooked in batches, I can tell. Can you smell these sloppy joes, babe? They smell really good. I'm going to taste them here in just a sec, see if I need any more seasoning. I feel like I need some more water. I don't know. I don't feel like my onions are turning out like his did. So my husband wants me to try putting the onions in water, so maybe they will hold on to the flour mixture a little better. Let's give that a whirl. So while my onions are cooking, I tasted my sloppy joe mixture and it was pretty sweet. So I ended up adding some more water to try to dilute the sweetness just a little bit. And then now I just have it simmering on low and I'm watching my onions. So here are the onions that I dipped in water first. I can tell they're definitely more coated in the flour mixture. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing yet, but they look totally different. Sprinkle a little salt on those. So this is how the onion straws turned out. You can tell the difference in the ones that I did not put the onions in water versus the ones that I did. They held on to the flour a lot better, but listen to this. So good. I could just sit here and eat a plate of these. But I better not. Gotta have some left for the sloppy joes. So my sloppy joes are simmering away. My onions are almost finished and I'm gonna heat up a really large skillet on the stovetop. And earlier I made a mixture of garlic cloves and olive oil. I just put it in my little Ninja blender and mixed it up until it was a runny paste. And I am going to brush this inside of my brioche buns and put them face down into the skillet and get them brown and garlicky and good. And then we're going to be ready to plate up our sloppy joes. So I'm going to put my buns in here face down. Hear that sizzle from the garlic butter. I can smell that garlic butter. Wow, can you believe that homemade sloppy joe recipe? So now that I've made Mr. Make It Happen's recipe, I want to give you my take and some things that I would change. First off, I would completely eliminate the better than bouillon beef base. This has an incredibly strong flavor and it was just a little bit overwhelming. So I would completely drop this. I also think I would have used a little bit less of the brown sugar. The sloppy joes were a little on the sweet side for me. I guess maybe I prefer a savory sloppy joe with just a hint of sweet. But if you like your sloppy joe sweet, start with just a little bit of brown sugar and taste it as you go because it can add up pretty quickly and turn out to be a pretty sweet sloppy joe. That being said, everything about the recipe I thought was fantastic. And let's just talk about those fried onions. Oh my goodness, that is what made this entire dish. They were golden, they were crunchy, they were so good. And you absolutely want to put garlic butter on your brioche bun, put it in the pan, heat it up, get it brown and crispy, and then pile on those sloppy joes with those onions. Oh, to die for. This is a recipe that we're going to be making over and over. So thank you to Mr. Make It Happen for giving me the inspiration to make my own homemade sloppy joes. This is one I'll be doing again, and I'll see you back here in my kitchen again soon. Have a good one.